Hi everyone. So I think it's time for another update video. I think the last one I'd done was like over a month ago. So like it seems to have been a long time since I was like kind of on round 30, and actually I don't actually think I knew what my results were for the pituitary thing. So I've got a lot to update yous on. And then I'll talk about like how I'm doing and stuff. So the pituitary and the Cushing's disease thing. So I do have a pituitary tumour and the MRI confirmed it, but I don't have Cushing's disease. So I had a few tests on my cortisol levels, and they're actually like in range for being normal rather than high. And like that whole fiasco, like 2 months of my life I've spent like obsessing and being absolutely like a mad scientist, literally like day in day out just glued to my phone looking on like stories, like cures, blah blah blah, like totally delving into it. And I weirdly, when I've kind of come to terms with it, so like literally in April there was days where it's all I could think about and it was driving us nuts. The anxiety levels were peak, like I was like in a constant state of panic, fight or flight, you know, what am I going to do, how am I going to like get rid of this, stuff like that. And weirdly now, since I got my results, I've managed to let it go. I haven't thought about the pituitary tumour for like a few weeks. I would say mainly in the last 3 weeks. I haven't really thought about it, haven't been worrying about it. I've kind of put it down to when I detox it'll go away, which is crazy because like I was wanting to have surgery, and then I've realised like maybe that's not the best option. Maybe if I just kind of detox it'll reduce naturally. So the long story short is that I'm having another MRI in 6 months, which will show like what size it is and stuff. It's 8mm now, and it's not actually that rare to have one like that, you know, like apparently a lot of people have had this tumour and they've not even known. So that's been put to bed, thankfully. Chelation, it's going shit, it's going dreadfully. So last round, I've done round 34. Last round I started round 34 of 0.5 milligram of ALA, literally 0.5. I had to abandon the round halfway through because I felt so horrible, mentally, physically, depressed and like full of despair. I just felt like I was really it wasn't like residing with us and aligning with what I should be doing. I was just taking it and just felt like it was wrong. Like I couldn't, I wasn't happy about taking it. I felt that like things were being pulled from my brain, but usually I'm glad about that. But like this time it felt like, well, the last few times it's felt really pressurised and like heavy. Even at 0.5 milligram, I just couldn't do it, and my alarm went off. For the first time ever, I was like, I can't take the next dose and I can't do it. And I'm like, I can't take ELA. Which is crazy because like at the start of all this, that's what made us feel a lot better, but now it's making us feel worse, and I'm in the dump, I know that, but it shouldn't be doing this. Like I can't even handle 0.5 milligram. That's like, I don't think that's right. Considering I started at 1 milligram, people obviously go down to the starting dose, and I can't even handle 0.5 milligram. I'm refusing to like really microdose. I'm just thinking there's something wrong. So I've done it around a DMPS, and I've done it at 0.625, and even that I just felt shitty. I didn't feel any better. I've been feeling really bad. So like I wish I could bring you good news and say that I'm better, because it's almost been a year since I got my fillings removed. But like what I'm about to say, also I just want to have a disclaimer. This is my experience, and this doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. Everyone's different. Literally, like everyone's body works differently. So just because it's happened to me doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. Like, you know, you just have to try things and, you know, follow your intuition. But for me, this protocol in 34 rounds is made us worse. it's actually made us worse. Like at this point, and I don't know if that's because I'm in the dump and then all of a sudden in like a month I'm just going to come out and feel fucking amazing, but literally it's over 4 months now and I keep feeling like I'm at the peak, and I'm like, this just doesn't feel right. I'm in like a peak, but nothing's really doing anything like helping. It's really, I don't know how I've survived the last 4 months. Like, the derealisation is really bad. Like worse than it was from the start. So I've actually got depression now. Didn't have that before. I had anxiety, but not really. I was hopeless, but I didn't feel like the gut feeling of depression. I've got that. I've got anxiety, fear, and a whole load of delightfully new symptoms. I've got tinnitus now, really quite loud. Fatigue. My muscles are aching. Fibromyalgia's flared up. Like, it's, I wish I could tell you that it's been bad, but it's not. It's actually been worse. So I've decided to just put ACC on the back burner for now, because something just isn't right, and I feel like I don't want to say it's not working, because I don't know until like I'm out of the dump or whatever, because for all I know, I think what's happened is I've pulled out so much mercury from my brain, it's just now like floating around my body and I can't really cope with it. And I think chelation is kind of, although it's supposed to like gather it out and like bring it out, I think any chelation I'm doing is literally just overburdening my body and my liver. So I'm just going to like stop doing chelation. I'm still detoxing, I haven't given up on it, I'm just doing bare minimum now until I can like feel better. But also, so that's like that side of it. Also I'm thinking like in about 6 weeks time I might try either OSR or cyto detox, which is like a chiplalite fulvic acid, don't know, something crosses the blood-brain barrier, and people have done well on that, because I feel like you shouldn't listen to people who tell you this method will work for you, like works for everyone. Everyone's different, and I know people who've tried ACC and unfortunately they've felt no better after like 2 years. But then I know people who've done it for like half a year and they've been totally cured. So literally, it's just about doing what you think's right for your body and like following your instinct, rather than like being told and gaslighted that, you know, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. Just, if it's not working, then stop. Like, your body can't just adapt to what you're forcing it to do. So by all means, definitely like try ACC, but there is other methods out there. Like, I actually know people who've got better by doing the the metal detox smoothies and cilantro and stuff, and that's supposed to be really dangerous and bad for you and makes you worse, but somehow people have got better, and it's like everyone's different. So just as my advice, and I wish I had have known this, but if things don't feel right, then stop. And if you're doing, like, if you're starting a protocol, go at what you, so think about what dose you want to start off, and then half it. Literally, like, go so slow. Don't listen to anyone else like about pushing it or whatever, or pushing through rounds. Just do what you feel in your body's right. If it doesn't feel good, like, obviously detoxing isn't going to feel good. Sometimes it will, sometimes you feel good, sometimes you won't. But I feel like if you give something a good go, like 34 weeks of chelation I've done, and that's like over half a year, it's like 7 months of chelation, and I'm this, like, it just doesn't reside with me, like, it doesn't feel right. So anyway, that's that part. The other section I want to talk about is obsession and my OCD like tendencies when it comes to control. So basically, throughout this whole experience in the last year, I've spent countless hours on my phone researching different things about detox, you know, like different methods, different supplements, protocols, people's experiences, negative, positive. That's took me on an emotional roller coaster. And actually it's spiraled into the point now where I'm addicted to research because it's the only time I feel safe and the only time I feel in control. But it's countereffective because I'll be doing the research, I'll be trying things that are making us worse, spending money on things that I don't actually need, so like wasting money, reading negative things that send us into an oblivion of despair, ignoring like my real life and actually being sucked into this cyber world of like natural and alternative health, and also feeling isolated from people in my real life because no one knows about any of this really. I've got like some people talk about the like vaccine and all that, like and kind of talk about like the pandemic in like a conspiracy theory type way, and they're open to things that I want to say, but no one's done any chelation or had heavy metal poisoning or anything, and it's like I've just totally lost sight of who I am like as a person. My purpose in life was to just find answers to this. So anyway, I was like thinking to myself, I've done all this research, I've tried all these things, I'm done, like I am exhausted, I can't spend any more money and any more time and any more hope in relying on worldly things that might make us better. I was like, I've come to the end of my own resources, and this point as a Christian normally is where I would give my hope over to God. So I stopped researching 3 weeks ago, or was it 2 weeks ago? It was 4 weeks ago. Decided that I would stop. Okay, so the first day I was like crying, couldn't stop crying, I felt so depressed, and then I realised that this is a serious addiction like gambling, and it actually controls the same parts of the brain as like a drug addiction, but apart from you don't have the chemical dependence, but you've got the psychological dependence. So my dopamine, serotonin, etc. was coming from the validation and the reassurance I was getting from the research, and it was actually really fluctuating. So sometimes I would read that, for example, someone cured because they'd done this method, but then I would read another story that someone was worse because of this method. So I would go like from there to there to there to there, and that emotional roller coaster was like had my body in a permanent state of fight or flight. Then the more I was making efforts to try and heal, the more counteractive it was. What's that word? Counterproductive it was. So I was like thinking, I'll buy this supplement and like I'll do it for 2 weeks and I'll feel better. But then I didn't feel better, and then I was like, okay, I'll do this supplement. But the more I was trying, the more I felt hopeless, because I felt like I was just flicking through different things, and you'll have been there. And then I just got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm exhausted, I'm drained. I can't keep going like this because it's not working. Like whatever I'm trying to do, whatever control I'm trying to make is not working, because even if these supplements did work, the anxiety and the stress hormones that are being fired out from my body from doing all this research were actually counteracting the benefits of the supplements. And it hit the nail on the head, because I read this book about children with like neuropsychiatric problems, and this was the last book I read about alternative health, because I put all those away. But it actually said at the end, the professor that had done all the research and was treating the children was eating his lunch in a cafeteria one day, and a patient actually seen him, and they came along and they'd had a chat with him and said hello, and they looked on his plate and they were curious to see what he was eating, because he was an alternative health practitioner, and they wanted to know, you know, what he was eating to see if like it's something they should eat because it should be healthy. And he had shrimp on his plate, like prawns, and supposedly they're quite like full of toxins and heavy metals from the sea and whatever. So the woman said to the professor, she was like, I can't believe you're eating shrimp, like I thought they're full of toxins, like it's kind of isn't that quite like, you know, not dangerous, but like isn't that kind of hypocritical? And the professor said, the stress that you have about these shrimp is more toxic than the shrimp themselves. And I was like, yeah, that is so true. Like the stress that I get from researching and avoiding things and doing different things, and you know, if I don't do this like protocol thing, I won't get better. Like if I don't if I miss me supplements for a day, I'm gonna feel like crap, blah blah blah. That was making the stress a lot worse than actually what the problem was. So I was like, I'm just gonna hand all this over to God, because also I read in a book about letting go. It's a book about giving your, I guess, your life to God and what's going to happen to you in your health and everything else. And there was a quote in that book, and it said, you are God and I am not. Your ways are better than my ways. Since you are controlling my every step, I will not waste time or energy trying to work out everything that happens along the way. And I love that, because the brain is a really complex structure, and not even top scientists really know exactly what goes on and what reactions cause what, you know, emotions, etc, etc. And there's very little research about depersonalization as well, although I kind of feel like I've got it figured out, but obviously what I'm doing isn't helping it. But God knows all about the body because he made it, and this is just my opinion, this is my faith, you know. If you have different beliefs, that's totally fine, like, but this is just how I feel, this is how it's kind of manifested for me. And I was like, if I kind of ask God for wisdom, then I'm gonna get more knowledge than I would trying to do my own research, because God knows exactly what I need to do and what I don't need to do. So at this point I was taking some different supplements as well, and I was taking something called Guggul extract, Guggul, which was supposed to help with thyroid. And the last 2 menstrual cycles I had were awful, really bad, PMT, awful, like I just felt horrible, like premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And all of a sudden, so when I give everything over to God, I was like listening to Joyce Meyer, I've been like praying, I've been trying to connect with people at church, and I've kind of dedicated everything to that. I was driving along, and all of a sudden I just had this thought, like, stop that supplement. And I was like, okay, I was like, and I just kind of, I've relapsed a few times, by the way, on the research, so I'll get to that in a minute. But at that point I stopped and I was driving. When I stopped, I looked it up, and here, this supplement raises your estrogen levels and can cause like worsened PMT, etc. And I was like, that is crazy. So I stopped that. I haven't like gotten my menstrual cycle since, because it's not been long enough, but hopefully the next one's better. But yeah, this withdrawal has been like really brutal actually, and it feels like a proper drug withdrawal. So that's why I felt more depressed. I noticed as soon as I stopped researching, the depression just hit. And actually the addiction was covering up a lot of things as well. It was covering up how isolated I really am, like how disconnected I am from my real life, the purpose that I don't have, and like everything. So I've been working really like well at like restoring everything in my life. I've been doing like CBT, but most importantly I've been trusting God and in like realising that the evil of this world has afflicted me, and God can overcome any evil. And actually he's brought me to the end of my own resources for me to finally depend on him, because I can only live the life that he wants me to live through him. And I see this process of withdrawal as like a bit of a die-off hoax reaction. The last 5 days I haven't done any research, and I've only ever reached 5 days and then kind of relapsed. And it sounds funny, but it is actually really difficult. So I'm at 5 days now, and I can feel the peak of this horrible withdrawal. I feel like quite full of despair, but I'm just holding on to like the word of God and just resisting the devil, and he will flee. So I'm really like looking ahead rather than thinking about how I feel. So I'm gonna go till the 21st of September. That's when I've had my films out for a year, and I'm gonna think then about what I might want to do about detoxing. But in all honesty, like to conclude this, ACC's been making me feel like shit. The obsession that I've got with the whole thing is making me ill. It's making OCD really bad. I'm avoiding things. I'm paranoid. I'm paranoid about washing my hands with soap because of parabens. Like it's got so out of control. I'm paranoid about eating food that I haven't cooked because of like either like parasites or, you know, a little bit of garlic thiol or something like that. It's turned us into a paranoid mess, and I can't decipher whether or not I feel bad because of something's physically and biochemically gone wrong in my brain with the detox, or I'm just like in a massive turmoil mess with stress over the whole thing, or a bit of both. But like I'm sorting both of them out, but it's gonna take hard work because it's a resisting of what I want to do. Like ordinarily I'd be like, right, okay, next protocol I can try quick, you know, next supplement I'll try to get rid of this feeling. I'm just sitting with it and I'm just learning from it now, and it's awful and it's hard, but it's going to be the most fruitful thing. And like I see as well, like I've learned a lot about how demons work in this world, and demons actually, to me, like live in the spiritual realm, and actually they can exist in a 3D form as parasites, I believe. And the work of Satan is poisoning people with heavy metals from the fillings. Like I feel like that's the work of evil. And God always prevails evil because Jesus died on the cross so that we would defeat Satan. So I feel like if I follow Jesus and follow God, that like I'll be given wisdom to know how to overcome this. And you might think I've gone crazy or something, but I've always been a Christian, so don't worry, I'm not like all of a sudden having like visions or something. But I'm seeing this like withdrawal period as like a die-off, because I feel like that is connected to all like evil. When you resist or like detox evil, like parasites and addictions, you have a period where you feel worse, because it says in the Bible when Jesus delivered people from demons and afflictions that the demons screamed and convulsed before they escaped. Like not escaped, they didn't want to leave, but before they were delivered from the people. And I feel like that's what happens when you withdraw from things. You're inside kind of addiction screams and convulses, and they don't want to like come out and be detoxed. And that's kind of feel like when you get the Hicks reaction. So I'm feeling like it's a good thing that I feel worse, weirdly, because like I know that it needed to be done. So I'm going to update you in about 3 weeks time. Hopefully I won't have done any research again still. I haven't been on any groups. So what I mean by research is like Facebook groups, Googling like different supplements, looking into like Reddit for supplements, blah blah blah. I haven't done any of that, and mainly like looking at people's posts on things that they've tried and failed. So yeah. So I'm stopping ACC for now for a good few weeks. I'm still detoxing with like saunas and binders and stuff. I'm still eating like okay. I'm just gonna float through this next 3 weeks, like hopefully, and just kind of give my body a chance to just like heal itself and like and recalibrate, because I've bombarded it with so much stress, and I can't blame ACC for this all, because when I found out about the tumour I was literally crying with the stress that I was experiencing from the research I was doing. Like I just don't think what I was doing was normal, and surely people who do that can't get a lot better. So I'm really going to try and like get my life back and get my social life back, push myself to like go and meet up with people and be integrated into society. So we'll see how that goes. I'll give you an update when I get back. But thank you for watching, and just remember that to follow your instinct, and for me it's about following what the Holy Spirit tells me, but you know, you might see it in a different way. But if something doesn't feel right, then don't do it. Don't just push yourself. So yeah, I hope you're all okay, and don't be discouraged by how I feel, because I assure you I will bounce back and I'll get back better and stronger than ever, and I'll be able to come back and tell you exactly how or what I did. So just stay tuned. This is a good thing because it shows that you can go from this point to this point. So I'll be back in a few weeks. Bye.